And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Veritaseum DAO channel. I am your host, Jeff Pinnacle. Lisa Davis is on assignment today. And today we have a special roundtable format that we're going to be talking about doubts about DAOs. Now, Veritaseum has been, with Reggie Middleton's help, has been a great asset here to provide a document and talking points about this. And we're going to be discussing that paper and sharing that paper in the description as well. So first, let me go around the table and talk and introduce who we have here. So first off, I think he really doesn't need much of an introduction, but we have Reggie Middleton, the founder and leader of Veritaseum. Good morning, Reggie.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
And pardon me, I'm fiddling with the phone that froze, so I'm trying to get it. The more you pay for it, the less it works.
Okay. Understandable. And then secondly, we have Trey, who's here, and he's a prominent member of the Veritaseum DAO and a member of other DAOs, so he's going to have a great perspective as well. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Certainly, Trey. We're glad to have you aboard. And then finally, last but not least, is a special guest. His name is Joe Rowitz. Am I pronouncing that right, Joe?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Rowitz.
Apologies. So no, Joe is the CEO and founder of Dragon Chain, and they are very familiar with DAOs, and he'll have an interesting perspective as well. So welcome, Joe. I appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right. So let's go ahead and lead off. So Reggie, I think the first question probably should go towards you. Let's just talk about like a little foundational about actually, I'm going to start with Trey because Trey, let's go with let's define DAOs in general, and then we'll start talking about the definitions and the different points. So Trey, can you give us a little bit of background on what is a DAO for people who are not familiar with the concept?
Yeah, a DAO by the acronym is defined as a Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And the centralization effort that's been in crypto since really Bitcoin came out, I think is kind of a romantic idea that a lot of folks use to fall in love with the crypto space in general. And over the years, it's evolved. And at the Veritaseum DAO, we've done a deep dive into legal entity structures, what they mean to the members, and how a DAO should operate. So when Bitcoin came out, I fell in love with it back in 2012 because of the decentralization idea. I always loved the fact that I could be my own bank and get away from the system that I knew eventually was going to collapse, which I think we're all witnessing at this point in time. So the DAO structure has kind of morphed over the years into more of an LLC type organization. And I think that there's a lot of myths out there about DAOs and what they are and what it means to be a member of a DAO. And I hope we're able to get some information out today that'll help folks get a clearer understanding of what DAOs really are.
Absolutely. I appreciate you putting some context to it. So, Reggie, in the paper from Veritaseum, I believe that there were some talking points about different types of DAOs. Do you want to add a little bit more color to the different flavors that were outlined in the paper?
No, I could barely remember the paper now. the running off the top of my head, you have a DAO is generally an administrative structure to bring multiple, often diverse interests together to accomplish a goal. So one of those goals would be an investment DAO, which I think is one of the most popular. And that's when you get capital from multiple interests to funnel it into usually a crypto project. Examples would be Compound DAO, MakerDAO, Uniswap. I don't know about Uniswap, possibly Uniswap DAO, et cetera. Part and parcel of that would be a voting or decision-making component based upon consensus of the majority. That investment often is in exchange for voting tokens, okay? So if you come in, you have, let's say there's 1 million tokens available. Each token's $1. You come in and you purchase 250,000 tokens. You have 1/4 of the voting power, as an oversimplification. Now, that, of course, brings in a lot of questions and potential ambiguities, because if you have a collection of varied interests, okay, that come together for a common goal, that put in capital in exchange for voting rights, you have what very much looks like a regular company or corporation. And as many people who know my history know, I'm not necessarily a big fan of overzealous securities law enforcement. But even I have to say that, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's most likely not a platypus, right?
Yeah.
Now, there are other DAOs, such as the Constitution DAO, but they pretty much have the same rubric. They came in, they gathered capital from diverse interests for a common goal, which was to purchase a constitution, and they had the ability to vote, etc. So I think the ability to vote, based upon the consensus of the majority, and the marshaling of resources, which is primarily, from what I've observed, capital, is the common theme between the different types of DAOs.
Joe, I'd like to get your opinion on. I know you've been exposed to several DAOs, and I know that Dragon Chain uses several DAOs. What are your initial thoughts on the structure of DAOs and how how they're structured, and what your thoughts are right now?
I think the blockchain industry should step back a little bit about this in particular, because the one thing, like say, I came into Bitcoin in 2010, right? And I came in as an engineer, and I was just super interested in how this tech could be applied to various things. And I was a software architect, right? So in my role, everything was about, how can I use this for something I'm already doing, or, for systems that already exist. And other than all the obvious issues with scalability and economics and everything else that came into it, the big missing piece, or one of the big missing pieces maybe, was the ability for these disparate groups to organize in some way beyond just, we have an account on GitHub, and we're all about decentralization, but that's on GitHub, And so I would look at it in more of an abstract or utilitarian way, that if you take away the fact that many of the existing DAOs focus on financials, they focus on, we want to provide liquidity to, or we want to do this with this money, or we all want to get together as an investment club, essentially, right? That if you step back and you look at it a little bit differently, let's say for content. I mean, one of the first ones that we built, it was Den.social, and it was focused not on raising funds, not on investing funds. It was focused on how do we tune a system over time with wisdom of the crowd, in a way that reaches our business goals, which is to provide better content faster, to pull more people in, to make all of this work better. And one of the biggest things that we found, and it mirrored everything else that we were finding on the one of the core powers of blockchain, which is incentivizing humans, right? That in my opinion is the holy grail, the missing piece that most crypto people and people in the crypto press ignore, even though it's glaring, because it's what's driving them most of the time, And we found, and I wrote a paper, an article on Cointelegraph about using behavior to tune a DAO, so that you don't have as many risks of, number one, the attachment directly to a token. So it's a way to say, this isn't a token. This is, you come and do something in our system and you get some influence in a vote. And it's a very interesting thing, because it can be tuned over time, and it disincentivizes attackers. Because if you want, not only do you have to invest in our tokens, let's say, on one side of our DAO, you also have to come into our system and do the things that we want done by everybody else. And so all of a sudden, you're contributing to the actual fundamentals of what we're building, not just the token economy, which is very easy to manipulate, right? I mean, you have enough money, you can manipulate any of these token ecosystems. So anyway, that's kind of it's
a lot to explore. There's lots of different touch on. We got plenty to explore on here, but one of the things that we talked about was, again, you mentioned like that bringing people together for investment and pooling funds. And I think, Reggie, in the paper that was highlighted as one of the potential pitfalls or doubts about DAOs and concerns. Reggie, I think you highlighted a few examples. Do you want to expound upon that, about the concerns about having a coffers or a treasury for a DAO?
Well, the concern or risk or liability, I'm not a lawyer. That's my first legal disclaimer. And it's sort of funny that I give a legal disclaimer and say I'm not a lawyer. So that legal advice is worth exactly what you paid for.
I like you already.
None of us are lawyers, so we can continue.
Okay. So unfortunately, I've spent enough time in front of lawyers in courts where, I might know my way around the block. And that's not a good thing, by the way. So when you put money into a DAO or any type of capital or resource, because it doesn't have to be money, but if it's a resource of value that is valued by others, you create a honeypot, okay? And that honeypot is going to be sought after by bees and by bears